Hello everyone, this is Grace. It is July the 14th, 2022, and today we're going to be taking a look at when the day begins in the Bible. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start at Genesis 1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. So the world began in darkness. It started off in darkness, and then we'll continue. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. So we established a couple of precepts here. The world began in darkness, and then God created the light. This is before the sun and the moon. There was darkness, and there was light. He saw the light, and he called it day, and the darkness he called night. And then he established the guideline. The evening was going to be the first day. That's the darkness. And the morning was going as the identifier for the first day, which is the light part. And he uses the same word for day as he does for light. Okay? But the word for night is different than the word for evening. So let's continue on. He goes on and he creates the firmament, and then he creates a few more things, and we're going to jump down to the fourth day. And God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years." So now he's he's created lights in the firmament that we are going to be able to use to establish signs, the seasons, the days, and the years. "And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven, and for lights, to give light upon the earth." And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. So the first, second, and third day, we had day and we had night, but there was no way that we here as men and women were able to identify other than day or night. But then we were given the two lights, the two great lights, the sun and the moon, in order to establish what was the day, the year, the seasons, etc. So let's continue on. You know what? We're gonna go take a look at the definitions of evening. We're going to take a look at that first, because the evening is the most important, because the day begins at the evening. So you'll see evening mentioned a lot more than you do. You'll rarely see morning, because morning is the end of the day. But you'll see evening all through the Bible. "And Isaac went out to meditate in the field at eventide, and he lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, the camels were coming." So eventide just means, this extra word here is there to let you know that it's just the time of the evening. It's at the turn of the evening, the face, as you look upon it. But it's not quite evening yet. Otherwise, it would have just said at evening. "Prepare ye war against her. Arise, and let us go up at noon. Woe unto us, for the day goeth away, for the shadows of evening are stretched out." So this gives us a measurable tool in order to establish the evening. It says, "For the shadows of the evening are stretched out." Now you can take a flashlight and test this. If you take a flashlight and say you put it at noon when it's highest over an object, then you'll see that the shadow is short. But as you turn it to the side of the object, you'll see that the shadow stretches forth, as though the sun is going down against the horizon. And you'll see that the shadow stretches further and further away as it reaches the horizon, so to speak. So, "For the day goeth away," the day is ending, "when the shadow of the evening are stretched out." And that's a measurable. That's a measurable way to tell. If there be among you any man that is not clean by reason of uncleanness, that chances him by night, then shall he go abroad out of the camp. He shall not come within the camp, but it shall be when evening cometh on, he shall wash himself with water. And when the sun is down, he shall come into the camp again. Now, you guys, I was really surprised how many. Man, I really didn't even want to tell you about it, but I would feel bad if I didn't. I was really surprised how many fake scriptures I came across in the making of this. This being one of them, just one. And there were a lot. I really just can't believe how many times they faked, how many scriptures there were that we came across that aren't real. But this is not real. And not only is it not real, it's blatantly obvious that it's not real. It's not written in Old Testament. It's not written in the language of the Old Testament. Let's start from here. Just to look at it real quick. When the host goeth forth against thine enemies, then keep thee from every wicked thing. Well, this part here is just nonsense. But if this were written in the Old Testament, it would say, when you go out against your enemies. I guess you could use host if you want to, but this goeth forth, this is not Old Testament. This is not the way the Old Testament writes. This doesn't mean anything. The Bible will tell you not to sin, but if it's going to tell you when you go out against your enemies, it's going to say, show them kindness. For remember, you were once this and just that and the other. When you go out against your enemies, kill all of them because this, that, and the other. It's not going to leave it up to you to define what wicked is. You don't get to decide that because you're going to make the wrong decision. But then it goes on. If there be among you any man that is not clean by reason of uncleanness. Let's stop there for a moment. If there be any man among you, no. If any man is not clean, you can put among you in there, but it would have to be any man among you. If any man is not clean, this makes no sense. By chance and at night. See, this was written because they were sending guys out into the army and this, that, and the other. And they might have gotten themselves into a predicament where they got sick. Because if you were unclean, you didn't have to get sent out of the camp. If you were sick, then you got sent out of the camp. It says, then he shall go abroad out of the camp. That means there's a sickness. But it shall be, and then it'll say, and let him wash himself with water, let him bathe himself, and he shall be clean in the evening time, or something like that. But all of this is all New Testament. It's just, and it's not right. But it shall be when evening cometh on, he shall wash himself with water, and when the sun goeth down, he shall come into the camp again. Now, it's not written correctly, but it's okay, because you can say, but when the evening cometh, he shall wash himself with water, and when the sun is down, he can come into the camp again. I guess that's written. That's written. Okay. It doesn't conflict, because even is when the sun hits the horizon. It's when it hits the very horizon. The sun is still, you can still see the sun, and but it is going down. That's what even is in the Bible. And I did not realize, for those of you who saw the video that I did a long time ago, I did not realize that this was a correction. I didn't even realize that I had gotten into this. I didn't realize it was a big debate, because I was really in the dark about this. And I certainly didn't realize that I had put myself in the middle of it, or I would have looked into this before. It's simply by chance that I took up this study. And then last night, as I was completing the study, I happened to look up one of my old videos, and I saw that I actually have been a part of this. And this is actually a corrected video. I'll put it in the title, though. But still, I had no idea. It would have come out sooner if I could have helped it. But anyway, let's continue on. So this is okay. Oh, let's look at this because this is so funny. This part is funny. And thou shalt have a place also without the camp, whither thou shalt go forth abroad, and thou shalt have a paddle upon thy weapon, and it shall be, when thou wilt ease thyself abroad, thou shalt dig wherewith, and shalt turn back and cover that which cometh from thee. Now, picture this, okay? A paddle on their weapon to dig a hole for their poop. Okay? So, what weapon are you picturing? Are you picturing a gun? Because they were carrying swords and spears. There were no guns back then. So they're fighting, wielding swords with a paddle tied to the end of it, and chucking spears with a paddle tied to the end of it. No. No, that's not the way it was. I mean, even if it was a gun, why would you have to carry around a paddle? Why can't you just use a stick? Common sense would tell you can use a rock. You can use your hands to dig a hole. The paddle is really not necessary. And everybody's going to know what it's for. It's just, no. I thought that was funny, though, so I thought I'd read it to you. Anyway. And he made his camels to kneel down without the city by a well of water. And at the time of the evening, even the time that women go out to draw water. Now, again, time of the evening, it's just what it says, near the evening. I probably didn't even have to put that in there. I think I wanted to put it in there. There's another verse where it's going to say, I might have taken it out. This is another, we have to read this. This is another one of the stories that is made up. It's just made up in its entirety. We're not going to read all of this. It's too long. I'll just tell you what happens. So a guy, well, let's read the first part. And it came to pass in those days, when there was no king in Israel, that there was a certain Levite sojourning on the side of Mount Ephraim, who took to him a concubine out of Bethlehem, Judah. And his concubine played the whore against him, and went away from him unto her father's house to Bethlehem, Judah, and was there 4 whole months. And her husband arose and went after her to speak friendly unto her, and to bring her again, having his servant with him, and a couple of asses. And she brought him into her father's house. And when the father of the damsel saw him, he rejoiced to meet him. So he's there, and he tries to take his concubine, and go. And the father urges him to stay, and he ends up staying for about 4 days. And then the 5th day, hold on a moment. And he arose early in the morning on the 5th day to depart. And the damsel's father said, Comfort thine heart, I pray thee. And they tarried until afternoon. And they did eat, both of them. And when the man rose up to depart, he and the concubine, and his servant, his father-in-law, I forgot to check out and see if father-in-law was actually a word in the Bible. I don't know if that's accurate or not. Well, the whole thing is made up, so it doesn't matter, I guess. The damsel's father said unto him, Behold, now the day draweth toward evening. I pray, tarry all night. Behold, the day goeth to an end. Lodge here, that thine heart may be merry, and tomorrow get you early on your way, that thou mayest go home. But the man would not tarry that night, but he rose up and departed, and came over against Jebus, which is Jerusalem. And there were with him 2 asses saddled, his concubine also with him. And when they were by Jebus, the day was far spent. And the evening, and the servant said unto his master, Come, I pray thee, and let us turn into the city of the Jebusite, and lodge in it. And his master said unto him, We will not turn aside hither to the city of a stranger. So he's calling Jerusalem the city of a stranger. that is not the children of Israel. They are the children of Israel. It's the Jebusite. It's Jerusalem. They set it up here. And we will pass over to Gibeah. And he said unto his servant, come and let us draw near to one of these places to lodge all night in Gibeah or Ramah. And they passed on and went their way. And the sun went down upon them when they were at Gibeah, which belongeth to Benjamin. Well, see, this is the problem here. They say the sun went down on them, and then later on they're going to make a reference to even. And the sun is not down during even. And they turned aside thither to go in and to lodge in Gibeah. And when he went in, he sat him down in a street of the city, for there was no man that took them into his house to lodge. And behold, so they were surprised. There came an old man from his work out of the field. Now you would think that they would not be surprised, since it was supposed to be even. Everybody would have been, well, unless they were working. I don't know how it was in those days. And behold, there came an old man from his work out of the field at even, which was also of Mount Ephraim, and he sojourned at Gibeah. But the men of the place were Benjamites. This whole thing is very strange. The man is from Mount Ephraim, so he should have been in Mount Ephraim working his own field, but he was living in Gibeah. So he comes out of working someone else's field at even. They were in Gibeah, but the place was Benjamites. And when he had, it's made up anyway, so. And when he had lifted up his eyes, he saw a wayfaring man in the street of the city. And it's not a different man, it's the same man. And the old man said, whither goest thou, and whence camest thou? And he said unto him, we are passing from Bethlehem, Judah, toward the side of Mount Ephraim. From thence am I. And I went to Bethlehem, Judah, but I am now going to the house of the Lord. And there is no man that receiveth me to house. Yet there is both straw and provender for our asses, and there is bread and wine also for me and for thy handmaid. By thy handmaid, I think he means his concubine, and for the young man, his servant, which is with thy servants. I don't know whether there's an S there, but we'll continue on. There is no want for anything. And the old man said, peace be with thee. Howsoever, let all thy wants lie upon me, only lodge not in the streets. So he brought him into his house and gave him into his house. Remember, he's not from there. And gave provender unto the asses, and they washed their feet and did eat and drink. Now as they were making their hearts merry, behold, the men of the city, certain sons of Baali, beset the house round about, and beat at the door, and spake to the master of the house, the old man, saying, bring forth the man that came into thine house, that we may know him. Does this sound familiar? Like Sodom and Gomorrah? It's far worse. And the man, the master of the house, went out unto them and said unto them, nay, my brethren. Oh man, when I saw this, I'm telling you the truth, I had to avert my eyes. These men are banging on the door, trying to rape his house guest, and he goes out and says, my brethren. This is the first time I've ever had to avert my eyes from some writing in the Bible. I'm telling you, this just offended me. Oh. Nay, my brethren, nay, I pray you, do not so wickedly, seeing that this man is come into mine house. Do not this folly again. This is echoed from Sodom and Gomorrah. Behold, here is my daughter, a maiden, and his concubine. And them I will bring out now, and humble ye them, and do with them what seemeth good unto you. But unto this man do not sow this vile thing. So this guy says, hey, don't hurt this man who's come into my house. But here's my daughter, a maiden, and he's just going to take the man's concubine. She's in his house, but I guess she doesn't have the right to be safe. So he just snatches up his concubine and says, hey, take her. I will bring them out. Oh, and this is the worst part. He says, He not only offers up his daughter and another man's concubine, but he tells them what horrible thing to do to him. And humble ye them. How are you going to tell somebody to assault your daughter? But the men would not hearken. Okay. We know a man wrote this for sure, right? Because the men would not hearken unto him. But the men took the concubine and brought her forth unto them. And they knew her and abused her all the night until the morning. And when the day began to spring, they let her go. Hold on. I missed the part about the even, I think. Yeah, we missed the part about the even. Up here, he said the sun went down upon them when they were in Gibeah. That's the problem. This is the error that they have for the even. They said the sun went down first, and then they said it was even here. No. The sun is up during the even. It's just hits the horizon. So we'll continue on. I just wanted to point that out. I couldn't remember if I had said it. But this was written by a man, because he just throws the concubine out there and tells them what horrible thing to do to him. And these men, who are more than willing to rape the man, they're not going to rape his maiden daughter. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that word on here. Who's more than willing to assault this woman, this man. But they're not going to assault his maiden daughter. Oh no. But the concubine, well, it tells us at the top that she was out there playing a whore. So she can just get what she gets, right? It gets worse. So they knew her and abused her all the night until the morning. They give us the gory details. And when the day began to spring, they let her go. Then came the woman in the dawning of the day and fell down. They actually got this part right. Their wording for the day in the morning hours is right. It's correct. Then came the woman in the dawning of the day and fell down at the door of the man's house where her Lord was, till it was light. And the Lord rose up in the morning and opened the doors of the house and went out to go his way. And behold, the woman, his concubine, was fallen down at the door of the house, and her hands were upon the threshold. So the man wakes up after a good night's sleep, right? He wakes up, he opens the door, he don't even see her. He goes out, even though she's at the threshold. He's looking up at the sun, saying, "Good morning, sunshine." He goes out the door, and behold, he sees the woman laying there. And he said unto her, "Up, let us be going." But none answers. Then the man took her up upon an ass, and the man rose up and gat him unto his place. They never tell us if she's dead or alive. They just said she didn't answer. We don't know if she was alive or dead. And when he come into his house, he took a knife and laid hold on his concubine and divided her together with her bones into 12 pieces and sent her into all the coasts of Israel. I guess she was dead. And it was so that all that saw it, and so everybody knew about it, but nobody cared. Why? Because she was just a whore. She's just a whore. She's just a whore. Oh man, this story is. And it was so that all that saw it said, there was no such deed done nor seen from the day that the children of Israel came up out of the land of Egypt unto this day. Here's the pompous attitude that they have when they write this stuff that usually gives them away like 100% of the time. Consider of it, take advice, and speak your mind. Maybe you don't see it like I do. It's just so pompous. And anyway, just the arrogance. They're trying to teach you a lesson, women. They're trying to teach us a lesson. The virgin escaped unscathed, but no, that concubine, she left her man. She went out there and played the whore, and she suffered for it too. Yeah, no. Anyway, let's continue on. And the battle increased that day, howbeit the king of Israel stayed himself up in his chariot against the Syrians until the evening. And I'm not, hold on, I have to say something. I'm not upholding that type of behavior. However, it's not scriptural, and they put it in the Bible. They put the works of a man in the Bible as the works of God. And it just doesn't work like that. And I don't want to be insulting, but I don't think very highly of it. And I especially don't think very highly of it when they don't even write it correctly. It's like they didn't even try. They just wrote what they wanted to write. And, of course, for centuries we had to believe it. We didn't know any better. But I guess it was God's will so that we can undo the lies. Anyway, let's continue on. And the battle increased that day, howbeit the king of Israel stayed himself up in his chariot against the Syrians until the even. And about the time of the sun going down, he died. So he was up until the even, when the sun hit the horizon. And about the time of the sun going down, he died. And if a man have committed a sin worthy of death, and he be put to death, and thou hang him on a tree, his body shall not remain all night. This word just means remain upon the tree, but thou shalt in any wise bury him that day. So we know day can mean the light hours or the day, or it can mean a full day. And afterwards Joshua smote them. This is another one that is not real. And afterwards Joshua smote them and slew them and hanged them on 5 trees. And they were hanging upon the trees until the evening. So they were hanging upon the trees until the sun began to go down. And it came to pass about the time of the going down of the sun that Joshua commanded, and they took them down off the trees and cast them into the cave wherein they had been hid, and laid great stones on the cave's mouth, which remain until this very day. Now this can be translated either way. It can be translated if you believe that the sun went down, or it can be translated that you believe that the sun was going down. Okay, so this was, because this can be read either way, I'm not going to go into, it's not a big deal, but I will point out to you just quickly that hold on, I'm trying to remember the story. Okay, this is where he had him put their feet upon the necks of this king. So he called all of the men. Hold on, did I mess up here? Okay, give me just a moment. Okay, well, this is made up here, but it's not a big deal. It's okay. But just to let you know what happens here, Joshua, he fights against, 5 nations, and he calls all the captains of war. I can't say that this is wrong because I can't recall. I can't recall. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't remember what was wrong with this one. I didn't read it. That's what the thing was. I read it before and I knew it was wrong, but I can't remember the story now, so I can't tell you because I didn't reread it. And the king of Ai he hanged on a tree until eventide, and as soon as the sun was down, Joshua commanded that they should take his carcass down from the tree and cast it at the entering of the gate of the city, and raise thereon a great heap of stone that remaineth unto this day. So here, this is another made up story. And the king of Ai he hanged on a tree until eventide. So this is early even. And as soon as the sun went down, the good thing about this is you don't have to believe that these are errors. You don't really have to believe that any of them are errors, because this can be translated as the sun was going down. So you can just fix the translation if you want to. But this is not true. It says Joshua burnt Ai and hold on. It says Joshua burnt Ai and made it a heap forever, even a desolation unto this day. First of all, Ai was not a desolation as mentioned in other places throughout the Bible. And no man can declare something a desolation. That's a prerogative of God. And yeah, he couldn't declare that town a desolation. He could utterly destroy it, but it wasn't desolate. They were supposed to move in there. They did too, I think. Anyway, no, this is not right. There was other things as well, but that was the big thing that I thought was very odd. And the king Ai he hanged on a tree, so they kept the king while they were fighting the war, and then they killed him. They hung him on a tree until evening, and then when the sun went down, and as the sun was down, Joshua commanded they should take his carcass down, and then it says they took his carcass down after the sun went down. I don't get it. It's written incorrectly. It says even first near the evening, eventide, and then it says after the sun went down. So it's trying to say after the sun goes down, it's near even, like it's nighttime, and that's simply not correct. But here, you can fix it and say at the going down of the sun. And we'll look at the word, how it's used in other areas. And when the sun was going down, so you can change it to when the sun was going down, as opposed to, or as the sun was going down. And that'll fit perfectly. In all of those cases, you can change it and you can fix it to as the sun was going down. But at the place which the Lord thy God shall choose to place his name, in there thou shalt sacrifice the Passover at even, at the going down of the sun, at the season that thou camest forth out of Egypt. So that's another definition. At the going down of the sun. It's when the sun hits the horizon. And you'll be able to tell as we go through the study. And it came to pass that when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark, before the Sabbath, I commanded that the gates should be shut and charged that they should not be opened till after the Sabbath. This word for dark is not really dark. This word for dark, hold on, is the idea of hovering over, to shade, as twilight, opaque object, begin to dark shadowing. So it's to shadow over. And this word for before is like standing before. It's not before the Sabbath. It's shadowing over the face of the Sabbath. So it's before the Sabbath is what it's saying. And it came to pass that when the gates of Jerusalem drew near to the Sabbath, I commanded that the gates should be shut and charged that they should not be opened till after the Sabbath. But it's not dark. That's not what that word means. And this word before here does not mean before as in one or the calm before the storm. Okay? It's before as in you stood before a person. That's what it is. I think that's it. So when we come back, we're going to take a look at the Passover, and we're going to take a look at it'll be more of an explanation than the definitions are, because the definitions are, well, there were a couple that were clear, but we'll be able to see even better when we look at the examples. So I will see you in the next video.